Hi, I'm Peter, aka Roll for Kindness, and I'm just here to give you a basic overview of the Caravan Endures, kind of what it is, how it was created, and just kind of an overview of play. So you all will have a general idea of what you're getting into when you're looking at the PDF I built. The PDF, it's currently uh, in beta. So I feel it's kind of polished enough to go out to the public. So if you're interested in looking at it, just send me a message. I'll send it to you. I am looking at getting some graphic designers, some artists and stuff, and then find a way to put it out there. If I do charge for it, it will be pretty cheap. The goal of it being to create a very easily accessible game for people who want an RPG that really builds teamwork, builds kind of people supporting each other, stuff like that, at a price that's very, very affordable. And the reason I'm kind of doing this is because I do this sort of work myself, and I actually am using this system, or a kind of modified version of it with my own social skills groups, which are groups of teens on the spectrum that I've been working with for about 6 years, just with various kids coming and going from the groups, where we use Dungeons and Dragons to build social skills, teamwork, stuff like that. So a few years back, we ran a castle management sim where the kids inherited a castle and they had to keep it running and do different things during the day. Then at night, something would happen, and they'd have to go kind of deal with that. So the big overarching plot was that there was this assassin who was going around and killing various NPCs, and they had to find the assassin before more died. So that was a huge success. The kids were working really well together. They were kind of doing a really good job communicating, hey, I'm going to do this. You need to cover me so we can make sure this happens. So I was really, really impressed with that sort of model. And then I recently picked up again with my social skills groups where they're now running a amusement park. And that's going really, really well. So I started thinking, what would be kind of a cool backdrop for an RPG like this? And the thing that sort of came to mind was a caravan. So I started working on this RPG a couple weeks ago and actually took about a week off to just really start hammering through it. And the PDF that's out, again, just ask for it, is the culmination of that work. The rules are about 28 to 30 pages, I think. So really not that intense. And for players, you only really need to read like the first 10. Um, for the uh, game master, there's a little bit more just as far as building the challenges, building the world, all that stuff, and then the rest of it's just tables for you to like randomly roll up encounters or NPCs or whatever. So the way this game works is it's all about communal dice pools. Most RPGs, you focus on the whatever player has the initiative or whatever and say, okay, you go, you do this. Okay, you go, you do this. Okay, you go, you do this. And that can create some good teamwork, but I've noticed a lot of the times that it doesn't. The teamwork has to be really crafted by the GM or whatever through encounters. You have to make these really pre-programmed encounters where everything's kind of organized towards building that. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a better way, especially since a lot of RPGs, since you're really focused on the individual wants to get more powerful. Maybe not the group, but the individual always does. And so I've noticed that there's a lot of mechanics kind of built in there around like loot systems and stuff where people want something for themselves. And I started thinking that that's kind of antithetical to building teamwork. So there's no individual roles in this game for the most part. And the way you do roles instead is you are faced with challenges as a caravan, and you have to figure out, okay, how are we gonna resolve this? Or say the caravan is attacked by bandits. Are we going to try to bribe them? Are we going to try and scare them off? Are we going to see if there's some special item we can use that will help us escape? Are we going to fight them? So the caravan discusses what their course of action is, and then they determine who has the best sort of basic stats to accomplish that. Say they're going with a combat check. They would go with the guard, and the guard, due to various stats and skills and whatnot, might have a dice pool of 6 die, with the check being like 30 or whatever the GM has determined to be the difficulty level for that encounter. So if the character who's been chosen to fight the guards does it alone, so they're rolling 6 sided dice, trying to get 30. That's gonna be kind of tricky. So if they just roll that flat, there's a good chance that they will fail to fend off the bandits, and the bandits will go and attack, and it will be bad. So instead, once they've chosen that course of action, the rest of the players can be like, okay, I've been, hanging out with you and learning crossbow skills, so I want to go and throw in a d6 by pointing out where people are so you can aim at them. Another person might say, I've been hanging out with you and really encouraging you lately. I want to add a d6, just an encouragement bonus. And so all the players around the table kind of start thinking, how have I helped that person lately? How have I helped that guard with a crossbow? Giving him confidence, giving him skills, whatever, anything I can do that I think will really help boost him in this moment. And by doing so, they can add dice. Again, the GM has to approve of it and whatnot, but ultimately this results in a larger dice pool. So more dice are rolled, and hitting that goal of 30 is a lot more achievable. So that's kind of the base mechanic. The other kind of mechanic is that there is this daily activity. So even though all the encounters are very group oriented, every single day each player has to go determine what they are doing, what their character is doing. So there's kind of 4 things you can do. You can hang out with another character, and that usually means that you will be able to give dice to them somehow. So say you're hanging out with the guard and just really getting to know him, befriending him, and helping him gain confidence in who he is. Then the next day, you could say, okay, I'm going to give the guard extra die because I'm his friend now, or I've been hanging out with him and really encouraging him. And as this goes on, you might get more and more dice that you can contribute. Now, this could be in a very contextual thing. It can't just be like, oh, I just spend time with this person, I just automatically give them dice. No, it'd have to be something like, oh, I spend time with this guard just geeking out about crossbow combat. So the next time the guard has to shoot the crossbow, you now know a lot about crossbow combat and can say, hey, let me just hand you bolts and identify when to toss you a bolt or when to tell you when people are about to pop up, having that specific contextual die to add. So that's being able to add a die to someone else. Then there's spending time learning a skill, which is gaining a die for yourself. It's just kind of buffing yourself up, which is important. You want to be able to have a well-rounded character. Then there is scouting around, which is kind of more looking for danger, looking for things around the caravan to engage with, to avoid, whatever. And then finally, there's working on the caravan. And so there are kind of two classes that really focus on that. There are the healers and the crafters. The healers acknowledge that a huge part of the caravan is the human element. So they are counselors, they are medics, they work on making sure that everyone's in a good place and ready to go. The crafters, are the mechanics. They make sure that the caravan's up and running, well oiled, everything's functioning well, so that when a big storm hits, it doesn't get knocked over or whatever. So a lot of this is also really kind of focused on the specific skill sets that each character brings, and so everyone's gonna have to kind of work really well together to get to kind of survive and be able to thrive. So that's kind of the mechanic. Now, every day when you do kind of one of those activities, you actually put it in your journal. So each character has a journal that they write things in. Um, and kind of the way that goes is you write what you did during the day. Could be like, hung out with Gustav the archer and, learn crossbow stuff. And then the GM would say, cool, you get to give Gustav 1d6 next time there's a crossbow encounter or any sort of encounter where he has his crossbow. That might be him just showing off his crossbow and geeking out and impressing some crossbow creator with his skill. Or that might be a combat scenario, or that might be him trying to hunt a bird or something. Whatever. So long as it's Gustav and the crossbow, and around that they could add a die. But you would put that there, and then since it's a journal, there's a basic character sheet with a little bit of info about the character, but because it's a journal, that's actually an artifact of play, where kind of one of the things that I'm really encouraging is for people to actually have a physical journal, or an online journal, just because we're doing social distancing now. But if people have webcams, they can like point it where people can actually like write in their journal what their character did. And I think that's kind of a cool way to really build in some depth to characters, because say your character journal has a bunch of really goofy art and like little stick figure comics or something like that, and your character is this really serious, really angry, surly person, but your journal's like super goofy. Say some of the other characters decide that they want to see your journal and you share it, and then they realize, wow, Gustav's actually got this great sense of humor. So it's a cool way just to flesh out your character. Plus, I really like artifacts of play, so I think that's a really, really cool way to kind of build that in. Um, Next up, we have roles. So there's 6 classes, 6 roles. There is the voice, which is kind of more of a leader class. It's kind of inspired after bards. They're the excuse me. They lead the caravan. They make a lot of the big decisions, although it's their job to really listen to all sides. They kind of are in charge of maintaining morale, of dealing with taking on new jobs whenever they get to a town. In essence, it's the leadership role. So that's kind of that piece. Very much oriented towards dealing with tense social situations, talking their way out of situations, doing performances. So very much a charisma-based role, very much the party leaders. Next, there are the guards, who are both situational awareness and combat. So one of the strengths that the guards have is that they have excellent situational awareness. They can tell when other caravan members are in danger and what needs to happen to protect them. They are good at detecting when something might be dangerous and how to address it. They're also good at combat when it comes to that. But in the games that I've sort of played on my own, I don't think I've actually had any encounters that I've solved with combat. Just because usually I found that non-violent methods give me bigger dice pools. So that's been kind of interesting. Even with the guards, even with there being a guard character, it just happened that I had a better dice pool for the social things. But, if things get violent, if bandits attack, that's where guards kind of specialize. Again, I'm a huge fan of nonviolent play, but there's still scenarios where there might be a need for some defense or some intimidation, so guards are really helpful on that front. Next up, we have the scouts. Scouts, their whole thing is traveling out into the wilderness, um, looking for things that they can bring back to the caravan, things that they can find, things that they can warn the caravan about. So their whole thing is actually leaving the caravan and exploring. Very important. There's a whole system for encounters and threats and things that can endanger the caravan, and the scouts are really key for that, because if you don't have a scout kind of scouting around looking for danger, you're gonna have these bad things happen to the caravan and you're gonna have no idea. You don't have any time to prepare, and it's just gonna be really dangerous. Then we have the scribes. The scribes are the scholars. They are the skill monkeys. They kind of have the highest intelligence stats, so they are really useful for any sort of weird esoteric skill check. That's where they really come in handy. And since a lot of the stuff that the caravan might be dealing with is merchant politics and merchant law and merchant guilds, the scribes are helpful on that front as well. They, in my experience with practicing the scribes, I found that they were really good for just banking skills, just building skills up. They got a really high intelligence stat, and so they can get a lot of skills that will really help. So they weren't always the most helpful, but when there was a weird situation, they could really be kind of the tipping point for that. Then the next role is the healer. They're kind of counselors, healers, medics. Their whole job is to help people either be the best they can be or get people from being injured or out to a functional state. Very much a support role. When I played them, I had the healer hanging out with people just about every day. So they could just give dice to them. Their whole ability is oriented around doing kind of very fast first response. So there's 3 kind of health stats. There's healthy, which is anywhere between 100% feeling fine to pretty badly beaten up, but you'll sleep it off. Then there's wounded, which means that you're conscious, but you're down. You are significantly wounded, and you're going to need some time to heal. Then there's fallen. I don't really have death as a status, just because I think that should be a conversation with the game master and the player. Should the character die when they're fallen? Well, if the player says, yeah, we screwed up, we should all be dead, then the GM says, yeah, sure. If they're fallen, well, maybe they get kidnapped by bandits, and they are kept as hostages for a while, and then they have to escape or something like that. I'm not really a fan of death without consent. I think there's way more interesting ways to, I don't want to say punish a player, but like have consequences for failure that add something to the story. So yeah, healers are all about getting people from fallen to wounded or wounded to healthy. And the final role is the crafter, and they are the mechanics of the caravan. They keep it going, they install components, they fix things, they're the engineering department, so that's kind of their specialty. When I was playing with a mechanic, just added buffs to various caravan checks. That's really what they were doing. It's it's an important role. Not one that I was really into, but then again, I'm not really into like more mechanical roles. But I think If you get into like what sort of upgrades you can add to the caravan and the various caravan upgrades, that's where the mechanic kind of, or the crafter becomes a lot more interesting. So the only really thing I want to talk about after that is the factions. So you can join factions that give you various bonuses and give you various abilities. Probably the most useful one early on is the Merchant's Guild, because that allows you to buy products at half price and sell them for full price wherever. This may not be super helpful if you only have room for like 10 crates on your caravan, and you're only traveling to little farms that don't really sell expensive items, but it helps you make money so you can start upgrading and get more carts and stuff. There are other factions that actually add a bit more almost storyline. There is a research faction called the Cartographers Society, and their whole thing is exploring and supporting expeditions and collecting flora and fauna. So they're kind of all about like going out into the wilderness and coming back with, exploration stuff. There is a bounty hunters guild, which is pretty fun. That's all about, tracking down criminals, and it becomes kind of a game of cat and mouse. There's a first responders guild, which is, emergency response, when there's a big forest fire, when there's an earthquake, whatever, you go there, you heal people, you do whatever's needed. There's a military faction, there's a faction where you're supporting a group of adventurers. So there's all kinds of stuff that really add a little bit of flavor to the game that I'm really, really excited about. So that's kind of where I am currently. The beta is out. It's very early. It's very rough. I plan on getting someone who knows a bit about design to make it pretty. I'm planning on getting some art, commissioning some people to do a number of probably cart icons just to illustrate what the various carts look like, maybe some NPCs, and then just some random portraits or art or whatever. I've got a couple artists in mind, but if you know anyone, send them my way. Same with people who do design. Then after that, and after I've done a bit more playtesting with people and gotten more feedback, I will compile it. I will get all the art in, get the design done, fix whatever needs fixing, and then put it out there. It'll be out in the public. My kind of goal for this is to see this used in more social skills groups. I know that more and more therapists are looking at using games like D&D as a tool for developing social skills. At its base, D&D is not the best tool for that. So with the specific goal of building teamwork, I built this. Is it good for all social skills groups, like the whole variety of things? Maybe not. But I definitely, based on my experience with this system that I built with my own social skills groups, I found it helpful. So I'm very, very excited to have put it out. Very excited to get some feedback, and please let me know what you think. I'm very excited to be playing this. I will probably be doing some streaming games at some point, some non-streaming games if you'd like. I actually have never streamed before. I'm not really into Twitch. It just seems weird to me. But I really want this to get more exposure. I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited about it. So share it, tell other people about it. Let's make this thing happen. Thanks.